News when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Amy Morris. There's your closing bell for this Tuesday, the day before President Trump announces so-called reciprocal tariffs. Stocks fell after the White House announced those tariffs will take immediate effect. That added to concerns about the economic impacts of a trade war. And of course, we bring you the closing numbers each day here at Bloomberg. The S&P 500 gained 21 points. NASDAQ gained 151 points. The Dow lost 12 points. The 10-year Treasury yield at 4.16% and the 2-year yield at 3.87%. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney and Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum held what Carney called a productive phone call. The leaders discussed the importance of building upon the strong trading and investment relationship between the two countries. They also emphasized the importance of safeguarding North American competitiveness while respecting the sovereignty of each nation. The two leaders agreed to remain in close contact. Earlier, speaking at an event in Winnipeg, Carney says he's prepared to go ahead with additional retaliatory tariffs if President Trump moves forward with more import taxes this week.
As I also mentioned to the president and was very clear, we will respond to additional measures. So we will put in place retaliatory measures if there are additional measures put against Canada tomorrow.
With respect to auto sector tariffs, Carney said Canada has held back on its response and that there are measures Canada can take to help, quote, level the playing field against the U.S. Meanwhile, Mercedes-Benz is considering withdrawing its least expensive cars from the U.S. market. The company is mulling cutting sales of entry-level models like the GLA Sport utility vehicle as part of broader tariff contingency plans. And Rivian CEO R.J. Scaringe says they, too, are adjusting to the tariff uncertainty, even though their vehicles are all made in the USA.
We're spending a lot of time interpreting and understanding what the tariff implications are for us, of course, here in the United States, but I think importantly recognizing that, in particular, Europe may respond.
Rivian CEO R.J. Scaringe on Bloomberg Television. Now, Trump's so-called reciprocal tariffs are now just a day away and are set to take effect immediately after they're announced tomorrow. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt.
They're not going to be wrong. It is going to work. And the president has a brilliant team of advisors who have been studying these issues, and we are focused on restoring the golden age of America.
The White House says he'll announce them in a Rose Garden event tomorrow. The Washington Post reports White House aides have drafted a plan imposing about a 20% rate on most imports into the U.S. We get more on that with Bloomberg News global trade editor Brendan Murray.
The situation is still fluid. President Trump likely won't make up his mind until tomorrow. He'll have all day today to look over all the research that his aides have provided him. 20% tariff on most U.S. imports would be a pretty important milestone in the global economy.
Bloomberg's Brendan Murray. Richmond Fed President Tom Barkin says the tariffs could raise both inflation and unemployment, creating a big challenge for the central bank. Speaking at the Council on Foreign Relations, Barkin warned tariffs could lead to competition between consumers and providers, resulting in higher prices and lower demand.
It's sort of a cage match between an emboldened supplier who really believes that they've got to pass on these tariffs and a frustrated consumer who really believes that I'm not paying those high prices anymore. And where that lands is going to be very interesting to see.
Richmond Fed Chief Barkin also cautioned that some of the impact will be felt in labor markets. Employees across the Health and Human Services Department have started getting those notices of dismissal. An overhaul ultimately expected to lay off up to 10,000 people. Those notices started coming today, just days after President Trump moved to strip workers of their collective bargaining rights. But cuts are also happening at state and local health departments after HHS last week pulled back more than $11 billion in COVID-19 related money. Newsmax has cemented its meme stock status as its shares surged more than 2,000% since it debuted as a public company yesterday, with the stock soaring over 150% today. Newsmax market value is now more than $27 billion, with a trailing price-to-sales ratio of over 150. The company is still facing some ongoing litigation over broadcasts that claimed voting technology companies rigged the 2020 presidential election. That's news when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Amy Morris, and this is Bloomberg.